17. The number felt like magic. Maya woke up before her alarm, the sun barely peeking through her curtains. A smile was already on her face. Today was her day. She stretched her arms over her head, feeling a buzz of energy that had nothing to do with sleep and everything to do with anticipation. Downstairs she could already smell her dad's famous birthday pancakes. He only made them once a year, a tradition that was as special as the presents. She imagined the stack, dripping with syrup and topped with a single flickering candle. It was a perfect start to what she knew would be a perfect day. Her whole life felt like it was just beginning, full of possibilities she couldn't wait to explore. She padded barefoot down the hallway, the old wooden floors creaking a familiar song. Her little brother Leo's door was ajar, and she could hear him mumbling in his sleep. She peeked in, a wave of affection washing over her. He was only 10, still her little shadow. On his desk sat a lopsided hand-painted card that read, "Happy Birthday, Maya." She smiled. Her family was everything. They weren't perfect, but they were hers, a tight-knit circle of love and chaos. She couldn't wait to see their faces when she opened their gifts. Her mom was terrible at keeping secrets, so Maya already suspected she was getting the vintage camera she'd been dreaming of for months. In the kitchen, her dad hummed off-key as he flipped a pancake. "There's the birthday girl!" he boomed, his voice warm and cheerful. He wrapped her in a big, flour-dusted hug. Her mom was at the table, stringing up a happy birthday banner that was slightly crooked. 17 years ago, you made my world so much brighter, her mom said, her eyes misty. Maya felt a lump in her throat. These were the moments she cherished. The small, quiet gestures of love that made her feel safe. The kitchen was filled with the comfortable clutter of family life, drawings taped to the fridge, a stack of mail on the counter, and the scent of coffee brewing. After breakfast, the texts started pouring in, happy birthday messages from her best friends, Chloe and Ben. They had a plan for later, a movie marathon at her house, complete with way too much popcorn and junk food. Chloe's text included a string of cake emojis and a promise. "Tonight is going to be epic! Can't wait!" Maya texted back, her thumbs flying across the screen. She felt so loved, so seen. She laid out her favorite outfit, a soft yellow sundress that her mom said made her look like sunshine. Everything was falling into place. It was her 17th birthday, and the world felt like it was spinning just for her. The afternoon was a blur of happy moments. Her grandparents came over bringing a ridiculously large chocolate cake and a card filled with cash. Her dad insisted on filming everything with his old camcorder, capturing her goofy smiles and Leo's attempts to sneak a fingerful of frosting. Maya posed with her new vintage camera, pretending to be a famous photographer. "This is for my portfolio," she'd announced dramatically, snapping a picture of her mom rolling her eyes. The house echoed with laughter. It was loud and a little bit messy, but it was a beautiful noise. She felt like she was collecting memories, storing them away like precious jewels. Chloe and Ben arrived just as her grandparents were leaving. They burst through the door, arms full of brightly wrapped presents and bags of chips. "We come bearing gifts and a serious need for cinematic masterpieces," Ben declared, bowing theatrically. Chloe handed Maya a small velvet box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a tiny key charm. "It's a key to all the adventures we're going to have," Chloe explained, her eyes shining. Maya put it on immediately. It felt cool against her skin, a promise of a future filled with her two favorite people. They were more than friends. They were her anchors in the sometimes stormy sea of teenage life. They settled in the living room, building a fortress of pillows and blankets. The first movie started, a cheesy horror flick they had all seen a dozen times. They shouted at the screen, threw popcorn at each other, and whispered during the quiet parts. During a lull, Ben turned to her. "So, 17, he said, his tone turning a little more serious. "Feeling any different?" Maya just shrugged, a playful smile on her face. A little wiser, maybe. She noticed he seemed a bit distracted, checking his phone more than usual. She brushed it off. He was probably just dealing with his own family drama. Nothing could dim her mood today. As the second movie began, Maya felt a sudden urge for some fresh air. The house felt a little stuffy with the windows closed. "I'm just going to step outside for a second," she announced, squeezing past Leo, who had fallen asleep on the floor. "The cake is making me feel a bit woozy." Her mom, clearing dishes in the kitchen, called out, "Don't be long, honey, we're cutting it soon." Maya slipped on her sandals. "I won't," she promised, her voice light. She walked out the back door into the garden, the cool evening air a welcome relief. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. She stood in the garden, her new necklace cool against her neck, The scent of her mom's roses filled the air. She took a deep breath, letting the peace of the evening settle over her. A single magpie landed on the fence, looking at her with its beady black eye before flying away. She thought about the old rhyme, one for sorrow. A strange, fleeting chill ran down her spine, but she quickly shook it off. It was just an old wives' tale. She walked to the small wooden gate at the end of the garden path, the one that led to the quiet lane behind their house. She didn't open it. She just rested her hands on the weathered wood, looking out at the darkening street. Inside, the movie credits rolled. Leo stirred from his nap, rubbing his eyes. "Is it time for cake yet?" he asked sleepily. Her dad chuckled. "I think so, buddy. Let's go get your sister." Chloe and Ben started gathering the empty popcorn bowls. A few minutes passed. "She's been out there for a while," her mom noted, a faint line of worry creasing her forehead. "Maya!" she called from the back door. "Cake time!" There was no answer. Only the gentle chirping of crickets and the distant hum of traffic. Her voice sounded small in the growing darkness of the backyard. Her dad walked out into the garden, his footsteps heavy on the grass. "Maya!" he called, his voice louder this time, firmer. The garden was empty. The back gate was slightly ajar, swinging gently in the evening breeze. He pushed it open and looked down the lane. It was deserted. Streetlights flickered on, casting long, eerie shadows. A sense of unease began to creep in, cold and sharp. He called her name again, a note of panic now lacing his tone. He turned back to the house, his face pale. "She's not here," he said to his wife, his voice barely a whisper. The next few minutes were a frantic blur. Chloe and Ben were calling her phone. It went straight to voicemail. They checked her social media. Nothing. No new posts, no messages. It was as if she had simply stepped outside and evaporated into thin air. Her sundress was yellow, bright and sunny. Someone must have seen her, but the lane was empty. Her sandals weren't on the patio. Her new camera was still in its box on the living room table. The only thing missing was Maya herself. The half-eaten cake sat on the kitchen counter, a monument to a celebration that had suddenly, terrifyingly stopped. Days turned into a week. The birthday banner still hung crookedly in the kitchen, a painful reminder of the joy that had been stolen. Maya's face was everywhere, on lampposts, in shop windows, and on the local news. The word missing was stamped in bold red letters beneath her smiling school picture. The police had searched the woods behind the lane, divers had scoured the nearby river, but they found nothing. Not a shoe, not a piece of clothing, not her silver key necklace. The magpie she had seen felt like a terrible omen now, a dark premonition she had foolishly ignored. Her family moved through the house like ghosts, their conversations hushed and strained. The investigation uncovered confusing clues that led nowhere. A neighbor 2 streets over remembered seeing a yellow car driving slowly down the lane around the time Maya disappeared, but they couldn't recall the make or model, and their security camera was broken. The police questioned Chloe and Ben for hours. Their stories were consistent. They were watching a movie. They thought she just went out for air. But a search of Ben's phone records showed a deleted text message sent to an unknown number just minutes before Maya went outside. When asked about it, he claimed it was just spam. His nervousness, however, was a seed of doubt planted in the detectives' minds. Friends and strangers organized search parties. They combed through fields and forests, calling her name until their voices were hoarse. Chloe was relentless, a fierce protector of her friend's memory. She organized fundraisers and managed a social media page dedicated to finding Maya. But late at night, Maya's mom would see Chloe sitting in her car outside their house, just staring at Maya's window, her face a mask of grief. There was a raw, desperate edge to her sorrow that felt like more than just friendship. It was a heavy, suffocating guilt that seemed to cling to her every move. The police found Maya's secret journal hidden under a loose floorboard in her closet. The pages were filled with typical teenage angst, crushes, frustrations with school, dreams for the future. But the last few entries were different. They were cryptic. She wrote about a secret she was keeping, something that made her feel trapped and scared. She mentioned needing to make a difficult choice on her birthday. She wrote, "I have to tell them. I can't live like this anymore. Tonight changes everything." The words offered 1,000 possibilities, but no real answers. Was she meeting someone? Was she running away? Or was she afraid of someone close to her? A month after Maya disappeared, her dad couldn't stand the silence anymore. He retreated to the attic, digging through old boxes, desperate to feel close to his daughter. He found the old camcorder he had used on her birthday. He hadn't turned it into the police. It was just an old family camera, he thought. He plugged it in, and the small screen flickered to life. He watched the footage from her birthday, his heart aching. There was Maya, laughing as she opened her presents. There she was, posing with her new camera. He fast-forwarded through the clips, the happy memories now feeling like a cruel joke. He stopped on the last clip he had filmed. It was just after her friends had arrived. He had been testing the zoom function, pointing the camera out the living room window towards the garden. The footage was shaky. He saw Maya walk outside and stand by the roses. Then, the camera panned towards the back gate. He zoomed in. Through the slats of the fence he could see the lane. A figure was waiting there. As the zoom sharpened, his blood ran cold. It was Chloe. She was looking at her phone, then she looked up, a tense, impatient expression on her face. Maya walked towards the gate. The angle was poor, but he could see them talking. It didn't look like a happy conversation. Their gestures were sharp, agitated. Maya looked distressed. She shook her head, turning as if to come back to the house. Chloe grabbed her arm. Maya pulled away. Then, the yellow car the neighbor had mentioned pulled up. The back door opened. Ben got out. He said something to Maya, his face grim. Maya looked from Ben to Chloe, her expression one of utter betrayal. She took a step back, but Ben gently but firmly guided her towards the car. She got in. She didn't fight. She just looked defeated. The final frame of the video, just before he had turned the camera off, was a close-up of Maya's face through the car window. There were no tears. There was no fear. There was only a quiet, heartbreaking resignation. And then he understood. The secret journal, the cryptic entries. She wasn't running from a stranger. She was running from a life she couldn't live, with the two people she thought she could trust. The disappearance wasn't a kidnapping. It was an escape, orchestrated by her best friends. They hadn't taken her. They had helped her leave. The story wasn't about a girl who disappeared. It was about a girl who had to vanish to find herself.